বামফ্রন্ট সরকার এলো, তারপর থেকে কিন্তু আমরা একটা চেঞ্জ দেখলাম। কীরকম চেঞ্জ? না, যে সমস্ত ছেলেরা বা যে সমস্ত বাড়ি থেকে, অর্থাৎ পিছিয়ে পড়া বা এসসি এসটি ঘরের ছেলেমেয়েরা, তারা পড়াশোনার ধার দিয়ে যেত না আগে, কিন্তু পরবর্তী ক্ষেত্রে এমনই একটা পরিকাঠামো তৈরি হলো যে এদের ঘর থেকে ছেলেমেয়েরা কিন্তু সবাই এডুকেশনের দিকে ঝুঁকতে শুরু করলো। এইটা একটা ব্যাপক চেঞ্জ, যে শুধুমাত্র ব্রাহ্মণ কায়স্থ ছেলেরাই পড়াশোনা করবে বা ওরা করবে না তা নয়। এখন কিন্তু আমি দেখলাম যে অনেক পিছিয়ে পড়া শ্রেণীর ঘরের ছেলেরা তারা কিন্তু এডুকেশনের মধ্যে আসছে এবং আসতে বাধ্য হচ্ছে। অনেকগুলো প্রকল্প তৈরি হয়েছিল তখন।
Shantinitan has a very specific idea about education, about living, about your life pattern, which I think has a very significant role to play on life of us who lives here. And why I'm mentioning the Spanishian repeatedly, because that's the philosophy which talks about that you reject your immediate society and then you leave, you develop yourself, you self-realize yourself.
The whole idea of my working is centered upon the conceptions or the observations based on fragility. This particular show is a kind of film show where I'm showing around 3 body of works which dealt with the whole idea of permanency and impermanency explored in different ways. I have tried to conceptualize the idea around this area through different layers of practice. For an example, in one of these body of work which I'm showing there, where I have tried to address the issue of permanency and impermanency through the contrast of material and the idea of capturing life into it. I have tried to negotiate with the material quality, the photosensitivity of materials, and time. These are the key elements of most of the works. For an example, in one work where I was working with carbon print, and the process which was involved into making those images were a very long time-taking kind of a process. And that process itself was involving certain elements of uncertainty, of surprises, which were part of the image making practices. So I was concentrating on certain things which were easily available in my surroundings, like my neighbor, my family members. The well of my neighbor, which has been designed in a very Shantiniketan way at certain point of time. Now it is not in use, so it is deteriorating. I was interested of looking at things like this, which is changing over the period of time, are not very significant, not very important in life anymore, and things which are very usual, we encounter it every day. People whom we encounter every day. When I was working on them, when I was making the images on them, I was using the element of surprises through material, through the photosensitivity of the material, through the photosensitivity of the chemicals. And I was making images, I was clicking these images, I was taking the photographs of these images by my handmade photographic material almost all the time, every day, repeatedly. So for an example, there was a kind of a wine next to my studio, which I somehow or the other found that is there since years, and I'm making images of that wine. So these are the elements which I was making, and these were the elements which are not significant, they were deteriorating all the time. And I was addressing them through a process called carbon print, which is absolutely the most permanent process, which uses the basic fundamental element of life, carbon, I'm making a permanent print which won't be destroyed or deteriorated. So this is a kind of a contrast which I was addressing. Similarly, I was also addressing memories of travel, memories of journey to Himalayas through a pinhole camera made out of baby food can. And I was looking at the images, the negative, over the period of time. And what I found, the negatives are deteriorating slowly. And then I started imagining that if I could take a kind of a photograph of those negatives in a certain intervals. For an example, maybe 5-6 years ago, I have clicked those images. When I saw the negatives, it has deteriorated. After 5-6 years, I clicked those images, print it with the gold tone salt print on paper. Probably after 5 years, again I'll make another set of the same images and I will observe that how far it has deteriorated, what kind of a texture deterioration happens. And by doing so, I could actually trace back the time in between. The whole idea of growing, the whole idea of evolving certain things, the whole idea of the impermanency into those elements. I have also exhibiting some works which are confined to the whole idea of objectivity of photographs, that how we can look at photograph as an object and how that object changes its reality in three-dimensional forms. That is in a very experimental stage. So I'm trying to exhibit through different bodies of work, different kinds of work, to give a kind of an idea around the key role of permanence and impermanency. And also it has another element of addressing them through different explorations of materials, forms, and how photographs can be reviewed, reimagined in a very contextual way.